Hey everybody, welcome to Karina Lanta Mentorship here with another video. So, do you know who the Kwok brothers are? They're much more popular than I am. They have about 346,000 subscribers, 855 videos, and they've made plenty of videos on velocity banking. But you'll notice that when you go to their YouTube channel, you will not see the words velocity banking or what they later termed as accelerated banking anymore. And that's because they got hit with the cease and desist letter from the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. So it says cease and desist here. Don't use the word accelerated banking or domain name acceleratedbanking.com. Don't use the words bank, banker, or banking, whether as a legal name, assumed name, trade name, brand name, or DBA. Velocity banking, accelerated banking to describe or promote any aspect of respondents' financial education or consulting services unless and until respondents request and receive written approval from the division or becomes licensed or authorized to engage in the business of banking under the laws of any state or of the United States. So, yeah, so if you don't know what happened, I covered this in a previous video that the state of Illinois says, hey, you can't use the word bank, banker, or banking without the prior approval of the state government, right? Because I think the reasoning is that people will get confused because they'll think that you're a bank, right? So it says at all relevant times, neither Accelerated or Novo Elite, which is their company, was a bank, neither had a license to and authority to operate as bank in Illinois. And you know it's the Kwok brothers here because it just says Kwok brothers right here, right? So I'm not selling any velocity banking services, right? So, and I don't have any company ties to velocity banking. I'm just a YouTuber who just creates velocity banking content. I think that's a little bit different, right? So if you create banking content, that's different from selling services related to velocity banking, right? So, yeah. And let's just kind of take a quick look here of maybe a couple of seconds of what they have to
Feeling trapped
say.
in your mortgage like a
Yeah.
cage, making you feel like you're stuck from being able to experience freedom and peace of mind, your 30-year mortgage is actually designed for you to never be able to pay it off.
Wait, what?
So here's why. This is called an amortization graph. The blue line here represents the amount of interest you pay every single month. You'll notice that most of your money actually goes towards interest in the first 10 years of your mortgage payments, meaning you're making a whole lot of money for the banks in the first 10 years of your mortgage. But here's the real problem. The US Census Bureau suggests that the average homeowner moves approximately 11.7 times in their lifetime. Maybe for a better job, a bigger house, or your state just kind of sucks. Sorry, California. And let's say you live to be about 80 years old. That means you moved every 6 to 7 years. And when you move to a new home, you open up a brand new mortgage. And each time you open up a brand new 30-year mortgage, you end up resetting the entire payoff schedule. You'll be back to that 10-year period paying more interest.
Wait a second. I'm gonna be like 90 when this is paid off? Come on.
It's like a loop. Buy a house, get a mortgage, then sell. Then buy again, get a new mortgage, and sell again. Rinse and repeat. And every time you refinance, it's kind of like having that clock reset all over again. Okay, so how do you then get out of this mortgage cage? Introducing Accelerated Payoff, a smart banking
Notice it.
strategy that lets you pay off your mortgage
He doesn't use
in
the
as
term
early as
velocity
5 to 7
banking,
years
accelerated.
without
There's
having
no
to make
term
more
banking.
money, changing your lifestyle to a ramen noodle diet, or hurting your credit. Accelerated Payoff is not the same thing as paying extra into the existing mortgage, snowballing your debt, or even refinancing to a lower rate.
Okay, well
Accelerated
that's
Payoff
enough
uses a
there.
simple
I
banking
think
hack.
that's more than enough to show what happened, right? So he's talking about it. He's not even using the word banking. Now, I haven't gotten a cease and desist letter, and that's because I don't think I sell any services with Velocity Banking. Again, I'm a content creator, and also I try to recruit people into a cult. But that, recruiting people into a cult is not illegal as far as I'm aware. In fact, I googled it. It's just that you can't do anything illegal inside the cult. That's what I heard. But anyways, so now I've been trying to kind of figure out, like asking ChatGPT, like what's some good names that I can call this thing, because here it's a banned word according to the state of Illinois, right? According to the state of Illinois, we can't use the word banking to promote services related to velocity, quote, banking. Okay, and someone actually had a comment here from my last video when I talked about this. I kind of like the velocity method, or maybe we could do something visual like the debt cannonball method, because Dave Ramsey has the debt snowball method. Shall we call it debt cannonball? Debt cannonball? Velocity cannonball? Velocity? I just can't use the word banking. It's a banned word. It's like, in the Harry Potter series, you couldn't say Voldemort. Was that right? I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but I know that there was someone's name that you couldn't say. But yeah. But man, yeah, government crackdown. You can't use the words banking for any business if you're not a bank. So if I'm gonna have Velocity Banking Consulting Services, I just gonna call it the Velocity Method, or pay down debt method or something. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's go ahead and do a demonstration. I don't think demonstrations of velocity banking are illegal. And by the way, you want to know something? I've had about 3 people contact me who are from who said they worked for the federal government. Now they weren't like email me from their U.S. government addresses, you know what I mean? But they sent their emails from their personal emails saying, "Hey, I work for the federal government and I want to learn this stuff," right? And the federal government's huge, so you have people working in all kinds of divisions. So they weren't like from like the U.S. Finance Consumer Protection Bureau or whatever the bureau is. They just said, I'm learning about this velocity banking stuff, and I happen to work for the federal government, and they were really impressed. So, you know, um, society is nuanced. You know what I mean? So, state government is banning velocity, trying to get velocity banking banned because it uses the word banking. But then I got people, 2 or 3 people email me saying that they work for the federal government. So it is what it is. Anyways, so let's go ahead and do a demonstration of this thing called velocity. I can't say the second word, folks. It's a banned word. Velocity, method, debt cannonball, debt cannonball. Let me put debt cannonball right here. The velocity debt cannonball, right? Banned word. Can't use it. All right, but I think we can use the word average American banking, right? Average American banking. I think that might be safe. Or maybe it's not, just because, like, do we live in an Orwellian world where if we use the word banking at all, it's like Voldemort? Like, I just can't say it unless I'm an actual bank. That is the most insane thing. That's like saying, like, if you're not a sushi restaurant, you can't use the word sushi or restaurant. I'm like, what? Anyways, all right. So, what is this thing called the velocity debt cannonball method, right? Because you can't use word velocity banking. Well, all it is a debt payoff strategy where you throw all of your money to debt with the help of something called a line of credit. That's all it is, okay? And you have to have debt, you have to have income, and here's what people don't understand about debt. Banks don't lend money to people who need it. If you need money, the bank will never lend it to you because the bank is a vampire, right? And I don't know, who knows, pretty soon you'll get like a cease and desist letter from like the Bureau of Financial Protection or whatever saying that you can't oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted, but you can't use the word vampire because banks use that word. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is that banks only look for people with fresh blood, aka the vampire, right? So a person who has a lot of money and no debt, they tend to get a lot of debt offers, especially, emails, advertisements, targeted mail saying, "Hey, you've been pre-approved." And it's like, "Well, why do I need a credit card for? I'm debt free." And that's who they're exactly looking for, because people who need money don't pay you back. Remember that, right? So once upon a time you made money, and then you decide to open up a few credit cards, get an all loan and a mortgage, right? And then now here you have your general expenses that you have to pay for every single month: food, gas, insurance, and all that other good stuff. Okay. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to copy and paste same income, same expenses, but this $99 right here that we're just grasping onto and freaking out how we can't pay our bills, we're actually going to do this. We're going to put this to zero, right? We're not going to pay out of our checking and savings anymore. We're going to make our line of credit as our main operating account. Okay. And so what we're going to do is focus on this cash flow number. Cash flow number. So it's a little bit different from this. So now you might be saying, what's the difference between here and here? The idea is that we're just going to dump all of our money into a debt tool and then try to pay it off as much as possible. Whereas the fact that we're trying to actively put our leftover money in our checking and savings is kind of what average American banking is, and we're trying to do the opposite of that in what we call the velocity debt cannonball method. Can't use the word banking, folks. We're not a sushi restaurant. All right, so let's go ahead and assume we have something called a line of credit. So what's a line of credit? It's basically a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again, right? So if you don't know what a home equity line of credit is, basically you're using your home as collateral, and then you could use it as a credit card, right? Your home is collateral, and you're just using it as a credit card, okay? Like a credit card. Not exactly, because you can use it to pay anything on like a credit card. And there's other types of lines of credit like personal, business, but we're going to use a home equity line of credit here. And then what we're going to do, okay, is we're going to um, use a formula called the cash flow index. So if you don't know what that formula is, it's basically the balance of your debt divided by the payment. It gives you an arbitrary number, and then think of this number as like a ranking system, right? So the lower the number, that's the debts you want to pay off first, especially below 50, right? This was a method developed by Garrett Gunderson to determine which debts to pay off. It is indirectly tied to the interest rate, but not directly tied to it. So interest rate does have a factor, and usually the higher the interest rate, the less the cash flow index number will tend to be in general. And then you take a look here, you have this really big number. So what does this big number mean? It means that I should pay it off last. Why? Because if I give someone $240,000, I only get $1,400 back in my cash flow, right? That's literally all that means. Okay. And so what we're going to do, right, is that we're going to move some of our debt into a line of credit, and we're just going to start off with these low cash flow index numbers first, because again, if I pay off 30,000 here, I get $1,000 in my cash flow. Whereas if I pay 240, I only get 1,400, right? So you got to think about bang for your buck. And so what we're going to do here is 5, 8, 15, 30. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sum it up, and it's 58,000, right? So $58,000. And what happens simply by moving this debt into a line of credit? It's like a credit card balance transfer. Well, these all go to zero, right? So you'll notice that now magically we went from $99.52 to over $2,072.02 of cash flow, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our entire paycheck into the line of credit, take our expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again, right? So paycheck in, expenses out, and then now after every single month, we're going or the balance of our debt will go down about $2,000, or at least the line of credit debt. Whereas here, I don't foresee that would happen. Basically, the way that the bank makes money is that if you make minimum payments on everything, aka the segregation of income effect, meaning that your paycheck comes in and gets split all over the place, that's how they make the maximum amount of money. So just be aware of that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the previous month's balance, previous month's interest, and subtract our cash flow, 0.02. And then what we're going to do is take the average daily balance, that's how they calculate the interest of the line of credit, and then divide by 12. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste, and then copy and paste, and then we'll see that in month 31, look at that. It's all paid off, right? So month 31, all the credit card debt has been paid off. So remember, we started off with $99 left over, and then somehow that $99 went to $2,000. And it took us, what was it, 31 months? Let me just check one more time. Yeah, 31 months to pay it off. Okay, so I'm just going to do it right here. Whoopsie. Let me go back here. So this is going to be 31 months, and then this is going to be 58,000. 58,000. So not bad, right? And then we have the auto loan and the mortgage, right? So now let's check what the balance of the auto loan is at this time. And then this is 31 months. So what we do is in our auto loan calculator, or our loan calculator in general, we just put the current month. It'll tell us the current balance and the current cash flow index. And then we move the 15 grand, okay, into the line of credit. So I'm going to go ahead and do this right here. And then I'm going to just do this plus 15061.38. And then you'll notice that now the auto loan debt is gone. And because the auto loan debt, well, it's technically gone, it's been transferred. This is now zero, the auto loan payment. So every time we transfer some debt, we increase our cash flow. So let's go ahead and copy and paste right here. And then it's going to be right here. So minus 2611.08. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. And then we see that in 37 months, whoa, the auto loan is completely gone. No more car payment. So 37 months, right? So 37 months. And then that's going to be 58 plus 30, 88K. And then that's going to be 37 right here. Okay, and then so now this is the balance, current balance of the mortgage. So the mortgage is the only debt left, and here's going to be the most important part. A lot of people, you'll hear them saying, "Oh, velocity." I can't say banking, folks. Debt cannonball method. Oh, when you use that, it's all about using a line of credit over a loan, and you should always replace your mortgage as a line of credit. And the answer to that is probably not. Because if you ever do the math, which I've done in previous videos before, you'll just end up paying a lot more than you have to, right? So you have two ways of paying this. Number one, you could just keep making the monthly payment and then dump the entire $2,611.08 as an extra payment. And a lot of people cannot do that because it's very psychologically hard to have them overpay a loan, because they think like, well, if I overpay this loan with the $2,611, then that means that I can't get it back, which is kind of true, right? Like, if you overpay a loan, can you get that money back? Not really. But you could just do debt transfers to a line of credit and kind of do the same thing, right? And it's a lot easier in a way because if you're not, what's going to happen is that, and this is why a lot of people don't overpay loans, is that if you make an extra payment to a loan and then start using credit cards for backups for expenses and all that, you're going to end up segregating your income, right? And that's what we're trying to prevent, income segregation, so that we're not back to here and making split payments on everything again. But either way is fine. Now, one of the things that I just want to show, okay, is that a lot of people freak out because you're using an 8, 15, even 30% line of credit on a 3% loan. 6%. And so in terms of a 30-year mortgage, yes, that 1% interest makes a huge difference, right? So for example, if I go to the 360 month of the mortgage, which is the 30 years, you'll notice that I have $278,000 of interest paid on a $240,000 loan. And if I do it on a 7%, notice how this turns to 330, and then if you go to 8, then it'll go to 390. So yes, you do have to be careful. Okay, like don't assume that just simply you can just ignore interest rates. You can't. But the idea is that you're going to still use your line of credit and just move pieces of the loan into line of credit to help pay it off, make it easy, and just prevent that segregation of income, which is what got you to being cash flow poor in the first place, right? And so let me just kind of go back here. So we're in month 37, and luckily I have this. Gosh, I got to rename this, don't I? I can't use the word, this word. Ugh, no, I can't. I can't use this word anymore. I don't have the permission to rename this. Uh-oh. Where am I getting this from? Banned. Yeah, banned. Hold on. Let me see if I get this. All right. So now I can't call it velocity, that word. I'll call it the band calculator. And basically what you do is you put in the loan details, put your income and expenses and the amount that you want to move into the line of credit. So just make it a small amount. And then so here we have the 8% line of credit, but let's say we use like a 30% credit card to do this. Bam. barely makes a difference. Well, I won't say barely. It's about 7 grand and a little bit longer, right? So again, I'm not saying use a 30% credit card, but what I'm saying is that this line of credit here is a tool to help you pay off your mortgage early because it will make sure that if all you're doing is focus on putting your payments in one place, that you never get back here again. That's all it is. All right. But anyways, what's the final payoff? If let's say it's 8%, 5.7 years, 5.7 years. And then I'm just going to do 37 divided by 12, 5.7, and that's going to be 8.78 years, and we are debt free, right? So, anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it for today, folks. It's Korean Atlanta mentorship. And let me know what you think about the velocity debt cannonball method, right? If you made it to the end of the video, type in velocity debt cannonball in the comments below. It will let me know that you watched to the end of the video. And I'm sorry, folks. I don't know much about the law, right? But my understanding is that a lot of the law is set by precedent. Okay. Now, I don't. This isn't technically like a civil court case or the government taking them to court to cease and desist. But I'm not a lawyer, right? But my understanding is, once they start to make like precedents, you got to be a little bit careful. And so, can't use the word bank, banker, or banking, right? And so I don't. I'll just wherever that word comes up, I guess I got to replace it with band, band, right? Oh man. Anyways, what a world that we live in, right? But yeah. All right, that's it for today, folks. I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. It's Korean Mentorship.